My name is Lifei Xie. I'm a master candidate in China University of Political Science and Law, which is in Beijing, China. And my major is constitutional law. I'm here to finish my dissertation, and I'm a visiting scholar in Feminism and Legal Theory project. I am doing comparative research on gender equality in employment between China and America. Before I came to Emory, I planned to further study the American employment discrimination law to help Chinese future legislation. But after I'm getting to know Professor Feynman's work, I feel strongly that I should add her concern into my work. I'm still doing my dissertation and haven't settled on the topic, but how to truly achieve the gender equality will be an important part of it. As to my background, I'm a constitutional law candidate. Before the 2 years of my study, I focused on the state's role to realize the constitutional promises for people's rights. I helped my Chinese professors in the project of equal protection of fundamental rights and another project about the research on American employment discrimination law. My visit in Emory is so fruitful for my work. I audit Professor Schenner's employment discrimination law class, which helped me better understand the American employment discrimination law. And I also audit Professor Whitty's American legal history class, which exhibits as the struggle in American history for citizenship and equal rights. And it helped me know how the American law evolved into the current edition. And of course, Professor Feynman's work about the vulnerability and the substantial equality really inspired me a lot. And I also benefit from the workshops hosted by the Feminism and Legal Theory and the Vulnerability and Human Condition Project. From those workshops, I had access to the newest ideas of the scholars all around the world, and I'm very impressed by the work they're doing. And the last thing I want to mention is that the Emory Law Library and the Woodruff Library are really wonderful place for studying. I had a very great time doing research in it. What I mainly focus on is how the American experience can guide the promotion of equal employment opportunity between men and women in China. As you know, as Americans, employment discrimination environment has changed a lot since the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Sex discrimination based on the argument about the stereotype of the women's role is forbidden here in America, but that's still the struggle in China. Right now, a lot of employers prefer men than women, assuming that women's role is in the family and women are less competitive than men. While the law is trying to forbid the employment discrimination, it still sometimes holds the old view that women are weak and need special protection. So from the American experience, I think first the Chinese should be more sensitive to avoid the stereotype about women's role. And second, the Americans' statutes and case laws are certainly setting a good example for China to further complete its legal protection for workers. Right now, the National People's Congress in China has already passed a law that generally forbids the discrimination in employment. But what we need is to set up the whole rules, like what is the illegal discrimination? What kind of differential treatment are allowed? And what is the justification, how to distribute the burden of proof, and what is the remedy and punishing rules, kind of like that. So we need the law to be more useful and effective when people face the potential discrimination in the labor markets. The last thing I think is, besides the existing achievement in American law, the contemporary debate about the gender law in American can also alert the Chinese to pay more attention to find out the real reason that caused the inequality, and to make the whole social institutions to work for the substantial equality goal. And as to that, Professor Feynman's work is really a meaningful one. The American approach is to destruct the obstacles in the free markets by the rule of law, which is to protect equality through protecting autonomy. But the Chinese approach, I think there are two mainly differences. The first one is the Chinese state acts a very active role in it. And the second one is the rule of law is still in its growing stage in China. As you know, back to 1980s, there was no free market economy in China. The jobs were distributed by the government equally. So gender discrimination, employment discrimination was not a big problem at that time. So it's just a recent issue. So as the background is different, so the approach is different too. I think it is the attitude towards women that is the main area needs to be changed. Though the substantial equality is always considered in Chinese legislation, but it still holds the assumption that women are the caretakers and are the weaker group in the labor markets. That assumption needs to be examined. Just as Professor Feynman pointed out, it is not the gender caused the problem. It's the vulnerability in human condition and the caretaking in the family that needs the law and social institutions to pay more attention to. During working on the research for my dissertation, I find equality research is really interesting and exciting, especially through the half year in Emory and through knowing Professor Feynman's work. I now feel strongly that I'm going to continue to do the equality research in the future. Whatever kinds of job I'm going to do, promoting equality will be kept in my mind. After Emory, I'm going back to China to get my degree, and I want to work for a few years after that. Working for the government is the ideal plan because I want to know how things are really going on in the workplace and to feel the problems in the political and the social structures in China. Yes, if possible, I want very much to come back to Emory Law, maybe to finish an SJD program. I want very much to continue working with Professor Feynman.